from different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Hi,
I'm Beth.
I'm Tim.
I'm Jessica, and we're just your everyday
Methodist to the madness.
Well, Beth, you've survived another week. Tim, you as well. How are you both doing? Want to check in with you?
I'm doing all right. I'm just gonna say a lot. Just kidding.
Okay.
I'm always worried about saying
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
why
the
that's why I can't listen to the podcast. But it's fine. Saturday, I went to a karaoke night with some of the Cedar Street Theater people, and
Sweet.
that was
That is
really
awesome.
fun. And what's really cool about singing karaoke with musical theater people is that everybody sounds really good.
I bet they do. And I bet there's dance involved as well.
There's dance involved. Yes, there is. And it was really, really fun. And I think that every Saturday should be karaoke night. Who's with me? Probably.
That is so. I'll raise my hand that the audience can't see.
When I say Carrie, you say Okie. Carrie.
Okay.
Okie.
Carrie.
Okay.
Okie.
Anyways, and then yesterday, it feels like, you know, when you have a really long day, it feels like that day was like days ago. It was just yesterday, but
No.
we had messy church yesterday, which was a lot of fun, and we had 40 people show up.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And
Was it messy?
of course, there was paint, and we did string art, and when I was making the example, I didn't want to dip my fingers in the paint, so I took a plastic knife that I found in my office and was stirring the string into the paint.
Mhm.
And then at Messy Church, Pastor Jim kind of just started helping out with that station, and everybody, and I put knives like with all of the paints, and everybody, including Pastor Jim, were just sticking their fingers in the paint with the string, and I'm like, there's knives so you don't get your full of paint. And Pastor Jim was like, but this is Messy Church, and I was like, fair enough. Fingers in the paint. And
Awesome.
Wow.
And we had spaghetti and meatballs. Did I say that?
No, but you said now.
Yeah. And I have an anecdote about spaghetti and meatballs and how messy it is. When Jonah was in like first grade, picture day was supposed to be like on a Tuesday or something, but they changed it to Monday, and I didn't know. And I sent Jonah with spaghetti and meatballs for lunch, and then he just had it all over.
You brought it into the picture.
You know, my friend, who is a huge germaphobe and will not, like, she couldn't work in a preschool because you're always having to wipe everybody's noses and faces, and, you know, just cleaning up all the messes that kids make out of their faces.
Bodies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
But because she loves me and she loves my kid, who is still best friends with these two jokers since kindergarten, she wiped his face off for me. So, and she made it a point to tell me, you know that I love you if I'm willing to wipe off your kid's face.
Well, that's awesome. That's really exciting.
Yeah, that's really neat. I don't know if this is the wrong idea, but it's promoting my appetite for spaghetti and meatballs. Not the getting it all over your face part, but I just want spaghetti and meatballs now.
It was pretty good.
Good.
Yeah.
Beth, anything else happened this past week?
I mean, probably, but I won't remember it until after the podcast is done. So, no, nothing happened.
Gotcha.
That always happens to me.
Yep.
Tim, any updates for us?
So I have a couple updates, important ones. The first is I've come up with another epiphany somehow. I think it's because I've been thinking about how procrastination is such a problem for me, and it's like really difficult to solve. So there's only one thing that can solve it, and I guess that's an epiphany. So I think it was yesterday. Somehow I pieced together two concepts. The first is affirmations, and then the second is looking forward to the future. So then I'm like, you know what? Maybe I could just have an affirmation associated with looking forward to things. And so I started doing this, and I actually felt way more productive, or like way more inspired and capable to get things done. And I've come up with like a kind of a system for using these affirmations. So the most straightforward ways to just think like, I look forward to blank. So that blank could be like playing a game or watching a movie or reading a book or something like that. But it could also be associated with completion of a task. So you could think, I look forward to getting this done, and then I'll reap the benefits of that. Like it'll help me with this and that. And then I happened to remember something that Jessica said about incorporating deadlines. So now I have like a full system where it's like, I'm looking forward to something associated with taking care of that thing at a certain time, or I'll be ready to play that game or watch that show or something by this time. Like I'm looking forward to that. So this has been just profoundly helpful for me. Like, I think it's just, I don't know, I tend to respond pretty well to affirmations anyway. So it just ended up working out. So I don't know if it's going to cure my procrastination, but it seems to be helping quite a bit.
Good luck with
You're
that, Tim.
You're on to something, Tim.
Yeah.
If you find the cure, let me know.
Yeah. But it is kind of reducing the difficulty that I've been experiencing, at least. Like, even if I don't completely stop procrastinating, it at least gives me a tool to give myself a little bit more strength to do the things that I need to do before the deadline, instead of the day of, scrambling around. And then suddenly on the day of, you just suddenly have so much energy. You feel like a super person. Like you could just get all the things done, point A to point G, or however many points it takes. But yeah. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is I saw this movie called Map of the Tiny Perfect Things, or something like that. I think it's The Map of Tiny Perfect Things. I sorry for the grammar problem here. So basically, huh? Oh, thank you. So that movie is really good. And I don't think I would be spoiling anything to say that it's a Groundhog's Day inspired movie. And it's just super fascinating. It's got two teenagers who are living the same day over and over and over again. And it's just a really intriguing movie. I don't really want to give it away, but it is a romance. And it is a Groundhog's Day inspired movie. But I hadn't seen a movie like that in a really long time. So it was really thought provoking, and it just intriguing for me to watch in general. I was just thinking about how our everyday life is sort of like Groundhog's Day in a sense. Even though we're not in Groundhog's Day a situation actually, but we kind of do the same things every day when you think about it. We might have morning routines, or we always have to eat dinner. We always have to have laundry ready and stuff like that. So it's maybe we could just optimize our getting all of those things done. Kind of like if you were living the same day every day, you wouldn't want to just like have a worse day like all the time. You would want to have better and better days. So I thought that was kind of inspiring. So it's a good movie. The map of tiny perfect things.
It was originally a book by Lev Grossman.
Ooh, oh, thank you. I didn't know that.
Tim, if you like that movie and Groundhog Day inspired movies, you should watch Palm Springs on Hulu. That movie's really funny. It's got Andy Samberg and Kristen Milotti. I think that's her name.
Okay.
It's awesome. Really good.
Nice.
Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica, what do you have for us today?
Thanks so much for asking. I wasn't expecting it.
Honored to be nominated.
I want to thank my family. So this past week was kind of fun. I think I told you guys that I'm part of a 6-week training through this organization called PGA Hope, where every Saturday for 2 hours for 6 weeks, I get to be trained by a PGA pro dude person. And
pro dude person.
Which is golf. That's what the G in golf is. Or in PGA. And
is
also
G for professional?
That is correct.
Okay, so it's a professional golf professional
Golf Association professional.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Professional golf associate. You were with the Professional Golf Associate
of America. Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, continue.
So I was there last Saturday. It's based out of Simi Valley or Simi Valley. I don't know how you say it. Simi Valley.
Slimy Valley.
Slimy Valley. That is correct.
And
the L is non-existent.
The course is beautiful. It was like 70 degrees. I wore my golf shorts, which are just basically a nice khaki. And then my polo top, because, you got to look fresh on the course. And I don't have golf shoes, so I just wear tennis shoes. Everybody else was fine too. Anyways, but it was me with a group of, there were supposed to be 10 veterans altogether, because this is all for the veteran community. That's what made it free for us. Anyways, but there was only 7 of us total, but it was great because we were able to go to the driving range and they were able to show us how we were swinging, how we could better our swing. And it was literally just one full afternoon of that. And by the time I left, I was exhausted, and I'm still sore from being on the driving range for like an hour. But I had so much fun, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Awesome.
It might rain on Saturday though, so if it's canceled, they'll just extend it for another weekend. But otherwise, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Jessica, the way that you introduced that, you made it sound like a really like fun, chill experience, like talking about like wearing your polo and stuff. I was thinking you could put that together with what we were talking about with Beth, like you got spaghetti and meatballs, and then like you're going out to the PGA course. The only problem is you might slop the sauce on your polo. So
I know, right? Yeah. Well, the cool thing about golf courses, and even if you're not a golfer, I greatly encourage anybody, if there's a grill or like a restaurant in a golf course near check it out. They have the best food, the best deals. It's delicious. The Rancho Vista golf course that's in Palmdale has a delightful weekly discounted like Taco Tuesdays. You get tacos for $2. You can order a side of rice and beans. I mean, it's like awesome. So check that place out.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll sponsor me, because their yearly dues to be a member there are ridiculous. So
how much is it? Like $10 a year?
Like $6,000.
$10 a year.
I'm like, I'll just go to the putt, like I'll just go to the driving range. I'll use their putting green, their chipping green. Because all that's free unless I want to get like a bucket of balls, and I'm fine with paying for that.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, clubs too?
Anyways, what?
You get free clubs with that $6,000?
No, fortunately, I have 3 clubs in my brand new golf bag that I got for Christmas: a sand wedge, a putter, and a 5-iron. They were all gifted to me by my brother.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
so I feel like I'm good for like a par 3 course, but if you want me to go on a par 4 or like a par 5, I might need your driver for sure. But anyways, that was fun. And I just found out today that my work, they selected me to go to the Variety Entertainment Marketing Summit again. I went last year and it was a lot of fun. It's a whole day of learning about basically everything that's going on and updates within the marketing world and the entertainment industry. And I oversee programs at a college that's what our students are learning about, is like marketing and branding and advertising and being an entrepreneur, all that kind of stuff. So this is really valuable for me, and I'm really honored that I get to go again. It's at the end of April, but yeah, I don't know if I'm excited about what.
That's when the retreat is.
Well, this is on like a Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that should interfere with the retreat.
Okay.
But and Beth is speaking of the women's retreat, which is coming at the end of April. But yeah, Paris Hilton apparently is going to be there to talk about being a founder of something.
Really?
So that should be interesting. Last year it was
the phrase, that's hot.
Yeah, totally. Which is true. That is a true statement. But last year Terry Crews was there and Lisa Vanderpump.
I love him.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm really excited. I get to go back, and that I found that out today. So I'm really just looking forward to that, so we can bring it back and incorporate that new information potentially to our students, because we want to teach them the new things that are happening in the industry. So
Yeah,
that's so wonderful.
Cool.
Yeah, but that's about it. But in terms of updates with the church, I know I just briefly mentioned the women's retreat, and that is at the end of April. The specific dates for that are currently, I'll tell you as soon as my telephone loads.
Your telephone?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm using the circular dial.
That's what I was wondering.
That's called a rotary dial.
Yes. It is going to alert me of the dates that they will be.
Ooh, it's going to create some sort of portal into the date machine.
That is correct. That is correct.
And I just received word that registration papers will be available soon, and we're double checking on the prices for how much it'll cost per person.
Okay.
But
it is, I believe it is the last weekend in April for the church retreat, though, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Anyways, but feel free to contact the church. And that number is
661-947-3103.
awesome. Just a reminder, on Wednesday, Kids Club at 5:30. That's before Food for Thought. So keep
We're making bouncy balls.
What?
Yeah.
Ooh, bouncy balls.
And
That ought to be a blast.
it's for kids and kids at heart.
So everyone can be involved.
Yes.
Then we also have February 29th, Grief Share at 6 p.m. in the Fireside Room. March 2nd, Tim, take note of this. March 2nd, the quilting group from 9 a.m.
Oh, thank you.
Because you're supposed to go to that.
Okay. I will be there.
Okay.
Reserving a chair for you, and people try to sit in it, and we're like, no, you can't sit there. Tim's gonna sit there when Tim comes, and then you come, and then we just look like jerks who sit in your chair.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I just made all of that up.
I hope that there weren't like people looking at you with like offended expressions on their face or something.
Oh, they were, but it was probably for something different. Nothing to do with chairs.
The last thing I'm going to mention is on March 21st, Bob McDaniel's Memorial is at 10 a.m. and the senior luncheon 11:30. So feel free to check out the church app, get connected with us, let us know if there's anything that you have questions about, or you can connect with the church and sign up for all of the wonderful things that are occurring at Palmdale United Methodist Church. Beth, back to you.
I'm just getting word that there's an emergency. No, there's not. I can't even.
Warning signal sound.
Warning signal. Kidding. So for today's ministry moment, we have a very special guest. You've probably seen her around. Sorry, got distracted.
You looked around when you said that.
Because I got tapped on the shoulder. You can cut this out, Jessica. I'm so sorry. You don't have to. You can keep it. Anyway, for today's ministry moment, we have Jeannie, and she is our new office manager. Hi, Jeannie.
Yay.
Hello there. Thank you so much for inviting me to the podcast. It's the first podcast I've ever been on. I'm a little nervous.
All right.
No reason to be nervous.
We only have 5 listeners. Wait, a million listeners. I forgot a few zeros.
We've got friends in Japan and Belgium and the UK. We've got a good group of people listening.
Well,
Yeah.
That's good. Many of them probably don't speak English, so it wouldn't matter what I say.
So it's fine. You can say whatever you want.
We're good.
Well, Jeannie, I forgot to say this earlier, but just remember that this podcast episode, it's just friends having a conversation, you know?
Yeah.
All right. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Anything else I can fix in post?
Thanks.
sorry, Jessica. So Jeannie, tell us how you decided to become the new office manager. You know, I would be way too intimidated because Inga ran a pretty tight ship, and she also did so much in the church. And I was like, I don't want to be in charge of all the things, but it turns out you can delegate those things that you don't want to do every week. So what made you want to become our new office manager?
Well, I'll tell you, Beth. When I moved here from Wisconsin, I had the idea that I wanted to get a job where I have weekends off because I have worked in the retail business my whole life. It took me 6 months to find a job when I moved here, and it was at a retail grocery store, and it wasn't having weekends off. I worked nights, weekends, holidays, and it just wasn't what I had in mind. And always I had my ear open for something that maybe would fit the bill. So one Sunday I was in church and Pastor Jim announced that the job was coming available. And I kid you not, I felt a tap on my shoulder. And I looked up to God and I said, really? And it was like, yeah, I'm not kidding. Because I have never been an office manager before. I've been retail. But so after church, I went and told Pastor Jim I'd like to apply for the job. And a week later, my application was in. Inga was teaching me how to, what it would be like if I had got the job. I talked to the SPRC and they hired me.
That's
and
incredible.
It was wonderful. I'm so happy about it. As far as what I love the job, I love the people that I work with. I took some notes. It's really rewarding. It's working in an office setting where there's only 5 offices and 1 bathroom is so much more clean than working at a grocery store with a public bathroom.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like, oh my, well, we don't need to get into that, but it is so nice to be at a small office with just nice people and slow music playing. It's just so
Love your music, Jeannie.
relaxing. Thank you, Beth. Also, learning more and more on the computer will be so good for me. I think in my future, when
When the robots take over.
when the robots come and I forget to wear my tinfoil hat, it's going to be important that I know how to use the computer.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, it was God tapping me on the shoulder that sent me to the job at the church. And as far as being intimidated, I realized that Inga had a lot of hats that she wore at the church. But I also did realize that you're right, Beth, those hats can be put on different people, and
Right.
delegation is really key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool, and I'm really happy that you got the position like so important like that. And you said that you were a retail manager before this?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. But you had the managerial experience, and you're like an important part of the church. So yeah, I think that just like went together. That's beautiful.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. And I just had my yearly staff evaluation last week. I can't remember when, but I was hoping. I got hired on in October of 2021. And so since it was already February of 2024, I was like, oh, good. They forgot about my I don't have to do it now. That wasn't the case. I still had to do it. And it's just a thing I build up in my head to make worse than it actually is. But you have to write down, like, you fill out the evaluation yourself. And one of the things that you write down, or they want you to write, is how you're getting along with the other staff members. And so I obviously had good things to say about everything, but I specifically wrote about you, Jeannie, and I wrote that even though you've only been on staff for, just a few months, it feels like you've been there forever.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
That is awesome.
And I think that's just a testament to like how well you fit in with everybody. And yeah, so I'm sure glad that you're here.
Well, thank you very much. There's one other thing I'd like to say is meeting so many people, and I'm learning to, I feel like I'm in the position where I'm kind of like a bartender. People come to me with, if they have something weighing on them, they tell me about it, and I listen, and I love it. And I feel like I've never felt before as a belonging. I feel like I belong to this church more than ever. And one thing I need to decipher, though, I haven't figured out how to let go of the worry. When I have to learn to decipher what worries are mine to worry about and what worries are none of my business. I can listen to them, pray for them.
Yeah.
But if I take it home with me, it could become quite draining, I think.
Right.
I oftentimes wonder how the ministers can carry that weight with them, because maybe they've learned how to.
I think they have to. They have to.
Yeah.
But I have said the same thing on this podcast.
Yeah, same here, actually.
I have a really hard time, like, worrying about other people's problems. And I'm like, oh no, what are they going to do? And then I'm like, wait, they will figure it out. It's not my job to figure it out. worry about yourself, Beth. And so I have to remind myself of that also, because it's hard to,
Yeah, I think it's really important to have empathy for people, but in my experience, there was a point where I didn't know that too much empathy was a thing. I guess maybe it is because I was really emotionally unstable for like months, and I was trying to figure out exactly why. And I don't think it was because I was trying to help people like feel better and stuff like that. But yeah, just taking a little too much emotional responsibility and just kind of forgetting about myself ultimately.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a balance for sure.
Really
It's a matter of what can you control and what can you not control. And the things that we cannot control, we give to God in prayer. That's like the biggest thing to remember.
Yeah.
I do that within my own life when it's things that I might worry about. If I can't control anything that's part of it, there's no reason that I should be worrying about that. I give that to God. And, you know.
I love that.
I love that, Jessica.
Yeah. But I do want to mention, though, Jeannie, sorry, Tim, I'm just going to say this real quick.
Okay.
Is one, I'm from Iowa, you're from Wisconsin. I love anybody from the Midwest.
Me too.
So I was so excited to, hear that you were going to be taking over. And I think, just so you're aware, I want you to know this because it's a very important moment for me that I experienced was, we felt like Amber and I have felt so welcomed at the church. And one thing that really stood out to me that is a very small thing, but for me, it was everything, was my parents came to visit. And I think maybe Amber had said something about how I loved the raspberry tea that was there. And I come walking out and you were like, I think you were hanging out with my parents or something.
I was.
And
they're placing their problems on Jeannie's shoulders.
Right. They were at the bar. And anyways, and Jeannie's like, here, I got you your raspberry iced tea. Your wife said that you really loved this. And it was like, it may not have been a big deal to you. It might have just been an everyday thing for you. But to, one, have that being said in front of my parents, being recognized in the church, all of these different aspects. And whereas like 10 years ago for us, that would have not happened at a church like that we would have been going to. That was huge. And it was a moment of like, I'm so glad that God has put Jeannie in this position because
you're going to make me cry.
If she can help us to feel this welcome, anybody else that comes into the church that gets to like see the front desk person, and if it's Jeannie, it's like, we are beyond blessed to be able to have that. And so I just want you to know that was very, very special.
Oh, wow. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you, Amber. Amber, Jessica.
No, it's fine. The running joke is that Pastor John calls me Amber and calls Amber Jessica. So I think either.
You know how I remember? Amber has long amber colored hair.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
That is, it's something.
I don't think you guys up unless you're both together for some reason. And then I'm like, well, Jessica.
Yeah. That's so funny.
But that's so wonderful that you shared that, Jessica. And that's awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Wow.
Well, I'd like us to head into sermon feedback. Jeannie, do you have time to join us for sermon feedback, or you got to head out?
I can. I'm just going to go away for just a little bit. I'll be right back. I'm just going to go, stir the fries that are in the oven. I'll be right back.
Sounds good. We'll get started, and you can come back, and we'll tie in.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
First, I want to share with you a life hack that I didn't even know existed until today. I was in the office talking to Jeannie, and we were talking about the podcast. And I told her what was going to be expected. And, we talk about the sermon, and she was like, I wasn't at church on Sunday. And I was like, you can watch it online. And she was like, oh, I know. I'll just read it. And I was like, what?
Oh.
The whole sermon? And she was like, yeah, I print one out for myself every week. And that was amazing to me, because I always listen to the sermons and I'm like, that was a really good sermon. But then I forget everything that I heard. And I'm like,
right.
oh, that thing that Pastor Jim said, I can't remember what it was. I think it had to do with the Wesleyan quadrilateral.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, so I have the entire sermon right here. It feels like when you when there's like a script leak to the newest Marvel movie and the movie hasn't even come out yet, but this isn't really a leak because the sermon was yesterday, but I still might ask the pastors to sign it, and I'll do it every single week.
That's really interesting.
But I might have Jeannie print one out for me when she...
maybe they could have like a QR code that has the sermon or something, the transcript somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, the sermon notes are close, but anyways, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a curiosity that
maybe this is classified information that I'm not even supposed to be telling you.
Is there a red line at the top that says secret?
Let's see. No, there.
Oh, it says void. No, I'm just kidding.
Void across the.
We'll put the QR code on, but every line is gonna say redacted or whatever.
Everything will just be like a black Sharpie that's like erasing. You erase every word except for the word God, and that's it. This has been cleared. You can now read this. Yeah.
Not yet. We'll come back to it later.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah, Beth, in particular, that inspires me. I mean, I already sort of inspired myself in somehow, some way, but about the listening to the sermon more than once.
Oh, yeah.
So if we have that time, like I notice that I remember more things and I can like make those like mind connections, when I listen to it more than once. So yeah, having written copy or listening to it more than once. Yeah, we got a lot of great enjoyment here with Pastor Jim and Pastor John's sermons.
Yeah.
Well,
this past sermon was, I want to say, was this the third or the second? The second. I feel like they're so packed with information. I feel like there's multiple sermons within them, but this one was eating with Jesus, a massive meal, which I thought would have been perfect for Thanksgiving, but this is going to work for now. But Matthew chapter 14, verses 13 through 21. And Pastor Jim spoke about Jesus turning 5 loaves and 2 fish into approximately 15,000 loaves, since 3 loaves fed 1 person. And back then they were 1 inch high and about 8 inches in diameter. Just if you guys remember him saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, it was 1 inch, or was it 1 foot?
No, it's 1 inch. 1 inch. So it's like 1 inch high and then 8 inches in diameter.
Oh, okay.
Coming from a bakery background, it's like a ciabatta bread.
Ciabatta bread? Okay.
Ciabatta bread.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which, if anybody
exciting.
has had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on ciabatta bread, I highly recommend it if you have not.
It sounds good.
Wow, this is like the food podcast episode.
But anyways, I wanted to get your everybody's feedback and understand a little bit more about your perspectives. So, Jeannie, do you want to share anything that stood out to you in particular?
There was one part where Pastor Jim talked about how that could have happened. And it was his idea was that maybe the people had brought their own food from home because they knew they were going on a long trip, and they had their lunch bags with them. So probably what could have happened is the people shared the food among themselves, which maybe in those days would have been quite a miracle. I don't know how town folky this group of people were. I mean, did they know each other, or were they coming from all over and not knowing who each other was, that all of a sudden they just became very friendly and loving and sharing, and they shared their food with each other?
Like, were they LA people or were they Midwest people?
Exactly. Were they going to have chislic, or were they just going to go down and have some shish kebabs or
sushi?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, Jeannie, because that was actually one of the points that I was going to bring up. I thought that was one of the most fascinating things, like regarding the hows that this could occur, and that was definitely, of the three that Pastor Jim shared, that really makes a lot of sense when you think about it. If you're thinking about the hows, like when I went into this story, like just kind of experiencing this story after a really long time. Like I'd probably heard it when I was before I like really found my faith. I had probably heard it before, but like experiencing this story kind of like fresh and new. Like not only was it one of my favorite stories, but I actually didn't really think about the house too much. Like I was kind of just going into it with faith and like being inspired by Jesus and like all the amazing things that he does. But so I'm glad you mentioned that. And yeah, I thought it was really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One thing that stood out to me was verse 13a. He talked about how Jesus withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place by himself. And I thought, man, I'm more like Jesus than I thought, because I would love to just get on a boat and be by myself in a deserted place. But I honestly, like the real takeaway from that was how important solitude and being with oneself and reflection and all of that is. And maybe that wasn't the point, but for me, that was really what I took away, was how amazing was it that he knew that he needed to withdraw himself from that moment, and went to a deserted place by himself. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Another thing was, Pastor Jim mentioned the quote, how the Christian life has been described as a movement from the shallow end of the pool into the deep end. And I feel like as soon as we leave our parents' house, I feel like we're like in the deep end. And and then with your faith, it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like as soon as you give your life to Jesus, you're not necessarily in the deep end, but you're at least trusting God to help you float for a little while, I suppose, until, you're strong enough. But I thought that reference was really, really powerful.
I really like that you brought that up, Jessica. Actually, that's another point that I was going to bring up. So you both
we win.
Yes, 2 out of 2. But I was actually thinking about that, and what I kind of like referenced it to was like a growing faith. And I was kind of thinking about my faith, like kind of like how I sort of really found my faith, and as like we've all been involved in PUMC, I've just been like noticing my faith getting stronger, and I'm trusting God more, and it's just been really like an amazing experience, and it's just helped my life so much. But who knows? Maybe I'm not at the real deep end, like, oh, you think you're in the deep end? Just wait. No, I don't think that's how it is. But yeah, I really do think that my faith has developed. And so, yeah, that was a really good point that Pastor Jim brought up.
Yeah, for sure.
Jessica?
Yeah.
When you moved here from the Midwest, did you find that were you surprised at how vocal people are about their Christianity? I mean, like, oh, God is good. Have a blessed day. These things I never really heard from the general public in Wisconsin.
Well, it depends on where you went, Jeannie, and
Mhm.
where I was. I lived in Hollywood for a little while, and so there was a church that I did go to that was just the experience was more so it was like a show, and
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
you
Like
know,
a concert, kind of like.
yeah, and so it really deterred me from being hopeful of something, but in general, I felt like LA people were a little bit more vocal, but more so
In a rock and roll way.
sure.
Rock and roll.
I don't know. Just kidding.
Yeah. I was thinking more of like, hey, will you do this for me? I'll do this for you. That was more so what I, but again, I was more so in like music industry side of things. Like I was in a lot of like more entertainment based things. And so I don't know. I feel like that side of things is a little shady, but
Yeah. I went to a church. I know exactly what you're talking about. I went to a church one time and like it was like I was attending a rock concert, and it just felt like so impersonal and not like and it was one of those churches where it was a mega church and they had like different places in the country, the state, I don't even know, but like there was a main pastor, but then there was like who my dogs are fighting. There was like a main pastor who they would show video of, and he would record his sermon ahead of time. But then there was the pastor there, and they were all, and it was never in a real church. It was always spaces that were converted into a church on the weekends. Like the one that I went to was a school, and it was their like auditorium, and it was in one of the Carolinas. My Greg is from North Carolina, but it was his sister-in-law's church, and she lives in South Carolina. So I don't remember which Carolina the church is in. And having lived in South Dakota for a long time, I always try to make sure to remember which Carolina it is, because if anyone dares to tell me, "Oh, you're from North Dakota, right?" Dakota, South. By the way, Jeannie was born in South Dakota. And
I was there until I was 15. Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't born in South Dakota, but I lived there for a good chunk of my life, probably until I was 22, I think.
You're feeling 22?
What?
You're feeling 22?
Yeah. And I'm only 29 now. So. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, Jeannie, why were you asking that? Did you experience people were more so vocal about,
like in the at the grocery store I worked at, people would just I don't mean at church, I mean on the street. One time a lady was showing us a house that we were going to rent when we first moved here, and she was just very vocal about her, just saying, "Oh, God is so good, and yes, it's beautiful here." I mean, she wasn't overly. It wasn't like she was a real, overzealous about it. But it just seemed like the general public was more free to speak about their Christianity, and I think in the Midwest, people are just a little more close to the vest.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really nice.
I think I can see that too. In Hollywood, they have a lot of people on megaphones too, professing their faith as well. It doesn't really make me want to be engaged in conversation with them so much, but signs kind of are large. But that's really cool to know. I think in general, California is a very freeing state, and that, I hope that everyone can kind of embrace whatever it is that is close to them, whether it's their faith, their lifestyle, or coffee shop, or food choices,
Oh, for sure, Jessica.
Embrace it all.
Yeah, I think so.
So,
yeah. Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Jeannie and Jessica, like our conversation here about this topic in particular, because it's kind of reminded me of how I've started to open up a lot more with like the people that basically my friends that I wouldn't normally talk about like religion with them much, like when I was younger or anything like that. And now I find out that my friends are Christians, and then like we have that in common. We can like talk about God now, and that's just really brought and always does bring like a sense of like higher intimacy with someone else. So so yeah.
Yeah. And it's the main thing is being able to share your faith with people without speaking. I think that's like the biggest thing that you could ever do.
Yes.
Is, really just love people, and you don't even have to say anything. It's through action based, being able to do certain things for people and let them ask you, kind of like last week's sermon where it was let people wonder why you're so, what was it?
Better than everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, like why are you so loving to everyone else? Oh, we're inspired by Jesus to love, so that's why we love.
That literally happened at my job at the grocery store. People I worked with would just say, "How are you always so happy?"
Yeah.
And I have been in California long enough that I would just say, "It's Jesus, God is good." And then I would just keep on smiling and walking. And I don't exactly know how they took it, but
I love it. That's
yeah, that is so inspiring. I love that too. Wow.
Yeah. Beth, what are some of your takeaways?
Oh, thank you, Jessica, for asking. So I was listening to the sermon, and he starts towards page 5 of the sermon, to be exact. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Beth has a transcript. Thank you to Jeannie for providing that to Beth.
So towards the end of the sermon, he starts talking about how we may feel like what we have isn't enough, or that we aren't enough, and by itself it probably isn't. And I kind of took that literally. I know it's supposed to, like with the food and everything, and, because a few months back when we were just getting, I can't remember if we were, I don't remember. I think we were just getting Food for Thought up and running again. And so we weren't really sure how many people were coming. Sometimes it would be this number, and sometimes it'd be a bigger number. And I was told to make the meal for this amount of people. And I thought I did that. But then we ran out of food. And I was so upset about it, because I was like, I failed Food for Thought. These people came for food. We ran out of food. And Sal ended up going to get pizzas, so the people that didn't get a chance to eat would have food. And everyone else was so nice about it. They were just like, no, it's fine. This is a good problem to have. That means that there's more people coming to Food for Thought.
Yeah, that's true.
And I was just like, why couldn't this problem happen to someone who's not me? Anyway, so I think it's because when we bring our resources and ourselves to Jesus, far more can be accomplished. So I was the one crying because we ran out of food, but everybody else around me was like, no, we're going to make this happen. And everybody got fed. It was like the time that Pastor Jim tried to turn, was it 5 apple Jolly Ranchers and 2 watermelon ones?
Something like that. Yeah.
5,000. It was like that, except we're not Jesus. And sometimes Sal has to go get pizzas.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
So Sal has to jump in,
What I had wasn't enough. By itself, it wasn't enough, but through Jesus and through our communities and just like the people we're blessed to have in our lives, like that's what makes it enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amen, Beth. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
actually, that was the third a third potential point I was going to bring up. So yeah,
No
3 out
way,
of
you're
3.
a
Yeah.
copycatter.
The time you ran out of food at Food for Thought.
No, not that part of it. No, but the general statement of like feeling we aren't enough. So I have a tendency, I might have mentioned it on some previous episode, but I have a tendency to kind of feel like disempowered and like lacking strength or something, or like I'm not enough, like to like take care of all these things in my life. And so this sermon like was really inspirational to me. Like if I feel like that, then I really need to like bring it to God, kind of like how they do that in the Psalms. Like there's so many Psalms where like Jesus's followers or particularly God's followers are like bringing all of their sorrows and everything to God. So I need to do that, I think. Yeah. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, it kind of a follow-up was about the growing faith thing. Yeah, I think as far as like how I feel about my faith in general, I think I'm never going to get to like the end. Like I absolutely have the utmost like deepest possible faith. I think it's just like a life experience that our faith just continues to grow. So I just wanted to expand on that.
That's the beauty of it, Tim.
Yeah.
It's a journey. There's not an end.
Yeah.
It's about the friends we made along the way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's right. And that is the title of Beth's new album.
The friends we made along the way. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Putting it for me, Jessica.
I'll close the sermon feedback with what I appreciated Pastor Jim ending the sermon with, which was...
Oh yeah, Jessica, what did you think about the sermon?
Oh, well, I thought I kind of shared a little bit, but at the end of the sermon, he says, when we are part of something larger than ourselves, we find enough to meet our needs and more. When we get paralyzed by the fear and scarcity and anxiety has its way in our hearts, when we think we don't have enough, Jesus says, bring them here to me. So in anything that we have, bring it to him, and he's like basically just giving us the green light, guys. So literally he said it, so we can do it. Also, all right, man.
Just real quick, did any of you see the Barbie movie?
Yes.
Yeah. It was so good, wasn't it? Jeannie, you should watch it if you haven't.
I did see it. It's good.
Oh, good. It made me think about Ken and how he was Kenough.
Yes, that is correct.
So we all are Kenough.
Yes, we're all Kenough.
Yep. All right.
Well, I want to go ahead and head into prayer requests real quick. Jeannie, do you have any quick prayer requests for us for this next week?
Prayers for safe travel for my husband and I are flying to Pittsburgh to see our kids.
Oh wow.
3-year-old grandson. Yeah, that'll be great. Prayers for a friend who is having some medical test tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's it for me. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. Absolutely, Jeannie.
Beth, any prayer requests?
Somehow I knew I was going to be next and I couldn't think of anything. So I'm going to steal what Don did last week. And today on the Lenten calendar, it says to pray for your family. So I would like prayers for my family. Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Tim?
Pray for Beth's family. Just kidding.
We'll pray for
I think the prayer request, I I feel like a lot of my prayer requests lately have been like sequel prayers or something like, like follow me on the journey, like continue on the path. No, but that's good. I wanted to mention that I would like prayers for the way in which I'm understanding things now regarding procrastination. So for me to just continue to look forward to things, and then like tell myself that I look forward to things, and then like kind of set time limits for myself so that I'm more efficient with my time. And then also to prayers to go to God whenever I feel like I don't have strength. And I think I do that like some significant amount already, but I think I could do that a lot more, and I could do it in a much more heartfelt way. So so prayers for me on that would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for
Thank
asking.
Prayers for you?
Yeah, Jessica.
Let's see. Continued prayers just for Amber and I in our hopeful baby journey.
Oh, I'm excited. I didn't know you were hoping for a baby.
Yeah, we've been going through a process, I think, since October of 2022. We've tried doing like frozen options, and then those all did not work. And so we ended up meeting a donor, and that has been an incredible, we're so grateful for that option and opportunity to have that come about. So anyways, we're, it's a waiting game right now, but
that's an emotional roller coaster. I'll pray for you too.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other than that, just continued prayers, I think, for people I work with, and just that God can kind of help me to figure out where He wants me to use music as a way of reaching people. I think that's been something that's really been on my heart, that music is my life. I've been a songwriter for over 20 years, and
wow.
I really want Him to be able to kind of help me figure out how I can better impact others through music. So that's definitely.
You should get a megaphone.
I should.
This is the Jessica concert. Woohoo!
That's funny.
All right.
But that's it. Yeah. So
yeah, for sure, wonderful. Jessica.
Well, anybody who's listening, please be sure to lift up all of our prayers, and we appreciate everybody for listening in. Jeannie, we are so grateful for you taking time to hang out with us.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeannie.
Yeah, I hope it wasn't as scary as you thought.
No, it was really fun.
Oh, awesome. I'm so happy to hear that.
All right.
Wonderful. Well, for those listening, we'll talk to you later. Appreciate you listening in.
Different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness.